Okay, think about that feeling when you get a brand new phone. You're unboxing it, peeling off that plastic film. You assume it's perfect, it's clean, and most importantly, it's secure. But what if it wasn't? What if a major threat was already on there, hiding inside before you even turned it on for the first time?
Hey, before we get into the nitty-gritty of how that's even possible, do me a quick favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It makes a huge difference. All right, let's talk about that phone.
We all have this fundamental trust when we buy new tech. You unwrap it, and you just assume it's a clean slate. It's your device. But what happens when that trust is broken from the very start? What if there's something malicious already lurking deep inside the hardware itself?
Yeah, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. Researchers over at Kaspersky found a real-world threat that does exactly this. It's a particularly nasty piece of malware they've named Keenadu, and it works as a backdoor straight into your device.
So what is a backdoor really? Well, think of it like a hidden key or a secret entrance to your house. It's a bit of code that lets an attacker completely sidestep all your normal security. We're talking passwords, fingerprint scans, you name it. It gives them remote access to everything. And here's the part that is just so deeply creepy about Keenadu. This isn't something you get by clicking a bad link or downloading a sketchy app. Nope. It can come pre-installed, right from the factory, just sitting there waiting from the moment you power it on.
But the real danger here isn't just what Keenadu is, it's where it's hiding. This is not your typical virus. We're talking about a firmware-level threat. And believe me, that completely changes the game.
So picture your phone's software as having a few different layers, right? On the very top, you've got your apps. Underneath that, you have the Android operating system. But way down at the bottom, you have the firmware. That's the core software that lets the hardware even work. And that's where Keenadu gets installed.
This really shows you the difference. A normal virus, like you see on the left, it lives on the operating system. Your antivirus software can usually spot it, and a good old factory reset will almost always wipe it out. But Keenadu over on the right, it's buried in the firmware. It's part of the phone's foundation.
So, why is the firmware such a perfect hiding spot? Well, there are three huge, scary reasons. First, most antivirus software can't even see it because they aren't designed to scan that deep. Second, it survives a factory reset. You can wipe your phone clean, set it up as new, and guess what? The infection is still there. And third, it gives the attackers root access. That is the highest level of control possible. They don't just have a key, they own the whole building.
And with that kind of power, what can an attacker do? Well, pretty much anything they want. They can rummage through your photos, read all your text messages, install new apps without you ever knowing, and this is the really terrifying part, they can get into your banking and financial apps. They can drain your accounts and steal your identity. Okay, so obviously this is a huge deal. The next logical question is, how widespread is this thing, and could your phone be at risk? Well, the data we have so far gives us a few clues. Right now, Kaspersky has been able to confirm over 13,000 infected devices out there in the world, but you have to remember, because this thing is so hard to find, that number is almost certainly just the tip of a much larger iceberg. We're seeing these infections pop up in a few key areas, places like Japan, Germany, Russia, Brazil, and the Netherlands. But here's a really interesting little detail. The malware actually checks to see where the phone is. And if it detects that the device has any ties to China, it just shuts itself down. That's a pretty strong hint about where the attackers might be from.
Now, even though it's super stealthy, there are some red flags you can look out for. Has your phone suddenly gotten really slow, or have apps started crashing all the time? Have you noticed a big spike in your data usage? Or maybe you see an app that you swear you never installed, or your battery just dies way faster than it used to. Any of those could be a sign that something's wrong under the hood.
So whether you think you might have a problem or you just want to stay safe, what should you actually do? Let's go through what the security experts are recommending.
Look, if you really suspect your device is compromised, Kaspersky's advice is blunt. First, just stop using it for anything important immediately. Second, go in and deactivate any system apps you're able to. And third, you have to contact the manufacturer of your phone. Because the infection is in the firmware, the only real fix is a clean security patch from them. You can't fix this one yourself.
And for the rest of us, the best defense is just good old-fashioned prevention. The number one thing you can do is buy your phones and tablets from official, reputable sellers. No weird third-party sites. After that, just practice good security habits. Install those system updates as soon as they're available, use a good mobile security app, and just stay aware of threats like this one.
And that really brings us to the big, lingering question, doesn't it?
The Keenadu threat was found in Android phones, sure, but it points to a much bigger and, honestly, a much more unsettling problem. Our devices are built all over the world in these incredibly complex supply chains. So how can we ever really know what's hiding inside the tech we trust with our entire lives? It's something we're all going to have to think about.